Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar with Matt Price and Tina Gelder.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Here are tonight's main stories.
A mum vows to fight on for justice after learning there'll be no prosecution over her 2-year-old daughter's death in a caravan fire.
It was like I've just been kicked right back down again. There's just been no justice at all for me and my family, I feel. I'm destroyed. I'm destroyed.
Facing isolation, passengers' concerns after bus timetable changes in East Yorkshire leave them struggling to find a service.
I tend to go out for lunch every day because it's a social event. It gets me out of the house and I see people. I get a welcome and it's nice. Somebody sort of cares and pays attention. I'd have to stop that.
In sport, they did us proud. The Steelers' European dream is over despite a battling brave performance in Berlin.
And step back in time with me in this remarkable house where they're celebrating Christmas as it was 100 years ago.
Thank you for joining us. A mother from Newark whose daughter was killed in a fire at a caravan park during a holiday on the Lincolnshire coast says she feels let down after finding out that no one will be held accountable for her death.
Louisiana Brooke Dolan, who was 2, died in 2021 at the Sealands Caravan Park in Ingelmells. An inquest ruled that her death was an accident.
Well, they've campaigned to make sure rules around caravan safety are stronger. After a review of her daughter's case, she's been told there won't be any criminal prosecutions. Emma Haywood has our main story tonight.
These are the days Natasha dreads most. Saturday would have been her daughter Louisiana's 6th birthday.
She was the most funniest little character you ever come across. She was caring. She would just be on my knee all day. She just wanted to be on the side of my face all day. Just snuggle me all day. So yeah, she was just one in a million.
Louisiana was killed in a fire at a caravan park in Ingelmells during her first holiday. Natasha tried to rescue her and has suffered from post-traumatic stress. She's been searching for answers since.
This has took my life. And I've got to carry on every day without her, knowing that there's no justice for her.
No one has ever been charged over the fire. An inquest heard it started in a cupboard containing a boiler, but the exact cause of the blaze hasn't been established. There was no working smoke alarm in the caravan, and the gas safety certificate had expired. The caravan park says it is supportive of the improved safety measures Natasha campaigns for. Last year, Natasha travelled to Westminster to meet the then Crime Policing and Fire Minister Chris Philp to push for her daughter's case to be reviewed. She's now received a letter from her own MP, Robert Jenrick, telling her criminal charges aren't forthcoming. He's forwarded on correspondence from the new minister, Dame Diana Johnson, explaining that after a review by different agencies, all lines of inquiry have been pursued.
I sat the letter on the side for half an hour at the start because I didn't know whether it's going to be good or bad. But then I just undone it and it was like I've just been kicked right back down again. There's just been no justice in the actual letter, basically. There's just been no justice at all for me and my family, I feel. I'm destroyed. I'm destroyed. But my children keep me going every day. They're suffering. They're suffering. So I've got to keep them going every day. But we like to keep together.
Natasha is calling for another meeting with the government. Her MP says he'll be contacting the Attorney General about the case. Natasha says she will not rest until she gets what her family believes is justice for Louisiana. Emma Haywood, ITV News in Newark.
Well, next tonight, fears that older people face becoming isolated this winter after bus timetable changes in East Yorkshire. Some say they make the services unusable.
Yeah, the bus operator says the merging of 2 routes between Hessle and Beverley will increase the frequency of services, but passengers claim they could prevent them from leaving their homes.
Meanwhile, some staff at the Castle Hill Hospital say they'll now have to wait 2.5 hours to get home or face driving and adding to pressure at the site's car parks. Jonathan Brown reports.
Their journeys Anne looks forward to. She's 76, lives alone, and likes to get the bus from her home in Anlaby to Beverley, 9 miles away. But now she says she's being left behind.
I tend to go out for lunch every day because for me it's a social event. It gets me out of the house and I see people. I get a welcome and it's nice. Somebody sort of cares and pays attention. I'd have to stop that.
Last week, timetable changes introduced by East Yorkshire Buses meant the 2-hourly number 25 service she normally caught was merged with another. She says that means she'll either be in a rush or face travelling in the dark.
It's just unusable now. I'm convinced that they are actually trying to make it so that, well, not enough people use it. We might as well cancel it.
Anne says she's had to print out and pin up the new times herself after a wider bus service improvement plan was brought in affecting multiple routes. But some regular passengers say it's confusing.
Older people don't understand. The sheets and the boards don't tally. So it's a waste of time. Absolute waste of time.
The operator says these changes are aimed at simplifying the timetable and increasing the frequency of buses. But some people who use these services for work say they're having to start using their own cars and stop using public transport. Staff at Castle Hill Hospital are among them, some complaining to local councillors after a mid-afternoon bus was moved back 10 minutes, leaving them with little option but to drive.
I think it's a matter of tweaking it. The buses previously left just after the hour, they're now leaving just before the hour, which means people leaving at 4 o'clock, for example, can no longer get the bus home.
While others say poor connectivity has already made their decision for them.
If I didn't want to spend an extra hour travelling, I needed to learn to drive, and now I drive to work, to uni, everywhere.
And it's not the easiest place to park, is it?
No, it's a nightmare. If I could get the bus, I would.
The NHS Humber Health Partnership said it faces challenges regarding parking, but that a new staff car park is due to be completed later this month. While an East Yorkshire Buses spokesperson said, "We are working closely with local authorities and trust stakeholders to identify and resolve any issues as quickly as possible." For Anne, with a cold, dark winter in prospect, she hopes a route to better bus services can help those like her feel closer to people outside their homes. Jonathan Brown, ITV News, Hull.
Well, more of the day's news now, and a scheme in South Yorkshire which aims to ensure that all children under 5 have a bed to sleep in has helped 1,000 babies and toddlers in its first 5 months. Families are referred to the Beds for Babies project through health professionals, social workers or charities. They're then given cots, beds or blankets. The project was launched in June after being given funding from the Mayor's office, which says bed poverty and health inequality are two of the biggest challenges facing the county.
We know that it's such a stress reliever for parents, knowing that they've got a bed for their child to sleep in that's safe, that's clean, that's going to hopefully keep them warm, that it helps families to not have to make those decisions between heat and food or a bed or school shoes or a winter coat. And from a Baby Basics UK perspective, we're really hoping that the model of what we're delivering here in South Yorkshire could be taken up and replicated by other areas of the country.
You're watching Wednesday night's calendar. Still to come on the programme this evening, the football club doing its bit to tackle climate change.
And the outlook certainly remains very cold for the next few days and nights, but will there be any more snow in the forecast? I'll have all the weather details in just a few minutes.
Well, next this evening to warnings about the rise of fake parking QR codes, which are being used to scam drivers.
Yeah, so far this year, £1.5 million has been stolen from people just trying to pay to park.
Yes, the fake codes lead to fraudulent websites allowing scammers to steal personal data from victims and take money from their bank accounts. Chloe Oliver reports.
An eagle-eyed driver peels off a fake QR code to reveal the real payment method underneath it. Paying to park by phone has become a modern necessity, but the cashless convenience is being harnessed by criminals. Stickers like this one are popping up across the region, redirecting users to fraudulent websites. And that's exactly what happened to Milton Howarth.
The machine wasn't working. So I went to the side and I saw this sign and it said, pay by phone. So then I decided I'd try that. I got my phone out. There's a QR code. I pointed at it, clicked on it, and then I put my details in. On the Sunday, £39 went out of my account. So I went looking into that and I Googled them and I found out that they had hundreds of scams.
It's not just about losing money. Victims could also be disclosing sensitive information, such as credit card data, logging details, or personal information.
I would urge people, if they can pay by cash at the emitters. That's really going to solve a lot of issues. The other thing is try and download the apps before you go parking. But I know people are in a rush sometimes. You've just got to be a little bit cautious and check your bank account as well. But also be aware of further scamming down the line, because what we're finding is that it's data harvesting, it's phishing or quishing as they call it. So it means that you might get a call further down the line from somebody purporting to be from your bank.
According to Action Fraud, £1.5 million has been stolen so far this year in this way. That's triple the amount since 2020. It's an issue the British Parking Association wants to combat.
In terms of the technology side, one of the things that we're doing is when we're notified by a local authority or a car parking operator that a bad actor is in play on a QR code, what we will then do is we will contact the internet service provider and they will then take that bad actor down within 24 to 48 hours.
The wildfire spread of quick response codes means the attacks are becoming more common, warn security experts like Matthew Duns from Hessel.
I think obviously everybody's got used to QR codes, it makes their life easier. So I think it's quite natural that people just walk up to a QR code, scan it, and obviously it goes off to something that they're maybe not quite sure what it is, but they think they can trust it because they're used to using them.
QR codes can be found in many car parks, and while most are legitimate, the advice is to think and check next time you scan. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
Now, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Lucrezia Millarini.
Coming up on the programme at 6:30. Family and friends of Liam Payne, including his former One Direction bandmates, gather for the singer's funeral a month after his death. The government announces sweeping defence cuts. It says, as part of cost-saving measures, we look at what that could mean. Plus, Rafa Nadal's last professional match, the tennis legend officially retires. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Lucrezia, thank you. Now, sport is a big player in contributing to climate change, but one grassroots team is trying to make a difference by becoming one of the country's first fully sustainable football clubs.
Yes, Newark and Sherwood United, who play in the 8th tier, only serve vegan food to their supporters and their own players, and by doing so are reducing their carbon footprint by just under 75%.
Well, Arif Ahmed has been to see how the Highwaymen are trying to change the direction of how we think of sustainability in football.
Newark and Sherwood United are blazing a trail in grassroots sport. The club is not only football focused, they're also doing their bit for the environment. Since taking over 2 years ago, Steph Wright is hoping to create one of the country's first fully sustainable clubs.
Has there been much resistance when you're trying to bring football and sustainability together?
I wouldn't say there's a lot of resistance. We have had the odd chant about where we should stuff our vegan sausage rolls, but that's football. There's banter around football. But generally, I would say it's been well received. You know, this is not going away. It's a problem that's growing and growing and growing. And grassroots football has got a big part to play in changing hearts and minds.
Fries, loaded fries, nacho fries, or fully loaded fries.
The club is plant-powered and only serves vegan food at games to both players and fans. By not serving meat, their carbon emissions are reduced by 73%. We found one supporter who tried the food for the first time.
You've just had some vegan food at half-time. What did you make of it?
That was vegan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was vegan.
To come here to a club that is so focused on sustainability and vegan food and things like that, what do you make of that?
Like I said, I didn't have a clue whatsoever it was vegan, but knowing all this now coming through, like, I feel it's quite good. good for the community, good for the environment. The taste, I couldn't tell, to be honest, to tell you the truth. I couldn't tell at all. So yeah, I can't see any problem with it at all.
The 8th tier team are piloting a new scheme that will see customers receive money for recycling their cups. If successful, it could be rolled out to sporting stadiums across the UK and beyond.
So Ali, tell me the idea behind these reusable cups at sporting events.
So what we're trying to do is make reuse as easy as single use by making all the steps exactly the same as single use. You're simply given your drink in a reusable cup, and for the bar staff they pass it over an RFID reader. That attaches this cup to that transaction. The customer drinks their drink and drops it in there like that.
As simple as that.
And they get their pound back.
And there's no, as you say, there's no difference, there's no added extra stuff for the customers to do. For them, they're just having a drink and recycling and getting paid back for it.
Exactly.
The Highwaymen are currently homeless and play 20 miles out of town in Grantham, but they've got plans in place to build a new stadium made out of repurposed shipping containers.
If you use shipping containers, you don't need to build foundations. If you need to grow, you can adjust it. If you need to move, you can move it. So you've got that flexibility, and we spend a lot of effort and energy building things that then need to be changed, and we have to knock them down and repurpose them. Whereas if we can move things around, and shipping containers are a perfect opportunity to do that with.
Newark and Sheffield United continue to lead the way in bringing sustainability and football together. They hope one day their blueprint will lead the way to a brighter future on and off the pitch. Arif Ahmed, ITV News.
So that's what Newark and Sherwood United has been doing. But sometimes it's not easy, is it, to think about what small things we can all do? Well, earlier I spoke to Jazz Ferrasso from the Climate Coalition, which represents more than 130 organisations across the country, all dedicated to tackling global warming. I began by asking her why it's so important that we try to make a difference.
Yeah, I think it's really important that lots of people do things to try and make a difference and a positive impact for climate and nature, because we all can make a difference. Climate action is often seen as something that's quite big or daunting or expensive, or it's reserved for a certain type of person or politicians. But that isn't the case. There are choices we can make and things we can do in our everyday lives that really do make a positive impact for climate and nature, and they don't have to be big or scary or expensive. And with people doing these things together, whether that's locally or nationally or globally, they have a massive impact when we're all doing things together.
You touched on it then, because sometimes it can seem overwhelming. You talked about small things making a big difference. Just give us a couple of ideas of a couple of things that we could do.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole host of things that you can do. But just to name a few, thinking about wildlife and nature, we know that having that nature connection is something that's really special to people and really important. So you can do things at home, whether that's having wildlife-friendly plants on your windowsill or outside your front door, or making a space for nature and wildlife in your garden, not mowing the lawn in the summer so that insects can thrive, planting pollinator-friendly flowers. But we know that a lot of people don't also have the opportunity or the access to nature at home. So thinking about what's close to you locally, whether that's a nature reserve or your local park or a local green, going along there, volunteering some of your time to help protect and restore the wildlife and nature that is in your local community.
So that's what we can do, and it's all good and well us making changes, but who else can make a difference?
So yeah, you definitely aren't on this journey alone. One of the most powerful things you can do is talk to your local decision makers, whether that's councillors or MPs, and they really want to hear from their constituents and get to know the things that you care about. And the more we talk to our local decision makers, the more they'll know the things that we care about and the issues that we're concerned about, and the more they hear us talking about climate and nature, the more they'll have a bigger mandate to act.
Well, that's certainly food for thought. Jazz Ferrasso from the Climate Coalition, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, sadly, it wasn't to be for the Sheffield Steelers out in Berlin last night. Despite going a goal up, they eventually lost by 4-2 and were knocked out of the European Champions Hockey League.
Yes, but what a journey it's been for the players and for the fans. 500 of them were in the German capital yesterday, cheering on their team to the bitter end. Among them was our man, Chris Dawkes.
They came with orange on their chests and hope in their hearts. 500 Sheffield Steelers fans in Berlin hoping to see their team pull off what would have been the greatest result in their 33-year history.
30 years I've been going now, it's the biggest game I've ever been to.
Everything. It's what it's all about.
When we got the group stage, we didn't think we were going to get a point, never mind get to this stage.
We said we were going to get excited if we managed to score a goal.
They've come so far in the past, 12 months? So, yeah, roll on.
2 goals down from the first leg, the Steelers needed inspiration. The early loss of netminder Matt Greenfield a blow, the goal by Marco Vallerand, pure joy. 1-0 Steelers at the end of the first period. Deficit halved, optimism doubled.
Very fast, very exciting, and we're up for it tonight.
Starting to believe?
Never lost belief.
But Eisbären are the German champions, roared on by 4,000 fanatical supporters inside the Wellblech Palast, the palace of corrugated iron. They turned on the style, scoring twice in the second period. By the time Mitchell Balmas scored again for the Steelers, the tie was done. The fans certainly weren't. Berlin struck again late on, but it mattered not.
I'm gutted, but it was a dream to get through, and I'm proud of the boys. We've had a fantastic time. I've been to Switzerland, Sweden, Germany. Absolutely loved every minute of it, and I'm so proud of them tonight.
I mean, end of the day, welcome to me, but we got this far. Absolutely amazing. I couldn't fault him. A win would have been better, but I'm happy.
Our 500 supporters were amazing tonight. You could hear them all night long, and I think we've brought them with us in this journey, and I think they've really enjoyed the European trips and being able to support us as well as they normally do.
So the Steelers' European adventure is over for this season. Despite a gallant effort, it's come to an end here in Berlin. But throughout the course of this Champions League campaign, they've made history, memories and a name for themselves throughout Europe. Chris Dorks, ITV News, Berlin.
I'm so disappointed, my man, where they have done Sheffield proud.
Such a good time,
Those
you
fans
could
were
tell.
Definitely having a
Fantastic.
good time, yeah.
Now, as we start to get a bit festive, imagine Christmas without a supermarket shop, the latest electronic gadgets, and Tina G, you'll love this, somewhere to charge your phone.
Actually, that sounds pretty perfect, Matt. Well, that, in a nutshell, is what life was like 100 years ago, and you can get a glimpse of it in Worksop.
Yeah, Mr Straw's house has been left to the National Trust and has been barely touched since those times. Katie Oscroft, lucky old thing, went to have a look around.
This is no ordinary semi-detached house, it's living history, and it's getting ready for its festive display. But don't expect a big switch on.
We're just setting up ready to make the Christmas cake here. So I've got the mixing bowl out, the dried fruit ready in the recipe book.
There'll be no chance of going to the shop for it?
No, definitely making everything homemade. The kitchen's quite utilitarian, quite sparse. This is where all the prep work would have happened, especially before the Christmas dinner, which they would have taken in the dining room.
And it looks like it goose, but there's not really much sign of Christmas, is there?
That's it. It's a much more traditional Christmas. If you imagine, you know, the house is now over 100 years old. When the family moved in, this is the start of the Christmas that we would know and recognise today.
No fairy lights?
No fairy lights in this house. Early Edwardian, about 1905 they were built. The fact that they have electric lighting is really early.
And no music? No Christmas carols?
There would have been music, but it would have been played on the piano.
And this Christmas card is from Mr and Mrs Lillico, very formal.
Absolutely. They would have been then. Even family members would have referred to themselves as Mr and Mrs. You'll notice that it's all printed rather than handwritten.
Oh, so that's the piano you were talking about, Danielle. No telly?
No, so they would have entertained themselves by playing music on the piano, but they would have also gone out for an afternoon walk or an early evening walk, especially on Boxing Day, and that walk off their Christmas dinner.
So it's a case of make your own fun in here.
Absolutely.
So Danielle, I'm loving the Christmas stocking, but on my list this year I'm thinking maybe an electric bike, a new phone. They're not going to fit in there, are they?
Unfortunately not. You were lucky then if you got, especially as a child, if you got a small toy or maybe a tangerine or satsuma.
So I'm glad to hear that Father Christmas was still coming down the chimney then. But it was all a bit different, wasn't it, Danielle? No fairy lights, no electronic gadgets. Did they still have a good Christmas?
They'd have still had a lovely Christmas. They'd had time to bring all family together. They would have been singing carols round the piano. So they would have had a great time.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Katie.
Look at that.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Is it too early to say that?
Far too early, yes.
Well, talking of Christmas, have you managed to pick up any bits yet? Do Christmas
No,
shopping?
I'm very much a last-minute Matt. Not done a thing at all. But speaking of festivities, our cameras have been given a look inside a rather Christmas abode, which has also transformed into a winter wonderland for visitors. The majestic Castle Howard near York has gone for a literary theme for this year's decorations. Their display takes guests down the rabbit hole to explore the world of Alice in Wonderland. Thousands upon thousands of themed decorations have gone up over the last few weeks, and we were invited behind the scenes.
We brought in 260 crates of decorations last Sunday, 4 huge 7.5-ton vehicles from our headquarters just across the way. So a vast amount of stuff. It's something like 30,000 baubles alone before you even start talking about the props and the floristry that go into it.
Yes, and you can see more of that exclusive behind-the-scenes look at Castle Howard's Christmas transformation on our streaming service, ITVX. Now, to find it, go to the ITVX app on your smart TV, phone or online, click on categories, then news, and then scroll down. You'll also be able to catch up with our latest programmes and see more of our best stories on demand. So you have no excuse. You certainly know where to look.
Been cold, festive-like weather, dare I say.
I think it certainly is. And do you know who can tell us more?
Joe Blythe.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you. Good evening. We've seen some snow around the region again today, but from now things will be dry but remaining very cold until Friday night into Saturday, when a band of precipitation will be moving in as it meets the cold air. We can expect some snowfall, particularly for the Peak District, the Pennines, into Saturday morning. Low pressure in charge of things. The air across the UK is like a fridge, and the result, wintry sleet and snow showers, with more to come Friday night into Saturday before eventually temperatures lift through Sunday and it all reverts back to rain. In the meantime, tonight we really must cater for icy stretches. Winds will ease off. It'll be a dry night, but a widespread hard ground and air frost to come for South Yorkshire, Lincolnshire and Derbyshire. Also a freezing fog patch or two to contend with. And temperature-wise, it's plummeting, perhaps around -5 or -6 in sheltered spots before dawn. On to tomorrow, the sun will be up at 7:39, setting at 3:57 tomorrow afternoon. A very frosty start to the day tomorrow, but dry. Any fog patches will lift. Wintry sunshine will get out south of the Humber for much of the day. And during the afternoon, winds are falling very light, but it is bitterly cold. The air is like a fridge, so 2 or 3 Celsius at best tomorrow before another very frosty, cold night to come tomorrow night into Friday. Now, Friday's going to be a lovely day, but very cold, sunny. Friday night, that rain band moves in, and as it meets the cold air, we're expecting some snowfall before it reverts back to rain. And eventually, you can see quite a leap in temperatures to end the weekend. Very mild, and any rain is falling as rain then.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Joe, thank you. That's it for now, though, from Matt and myself. Aris is back just after 10:30.
Lucrezia Millarini has the evening news next, but from all of us, we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.